Don't wait till the battle's over. Don't wait till the struggle ends. Shout now, shout now, right now. Shout now, shout now. Don't wait till you make it.
Welcome to the Phillip Show. Grab your coffee if you have some. If you don't, we'll just judge you later. But if you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Phillip O'Rourke, and here we talk about identity and who you are and what does that mean and how did you get to where you are. You'll hear me say it a lot of times, everybody has a story, so you don't have to be in a particular space to have an incredible story, because the fact of the matter is we all have a journey, and somehow along the way we formulated all these dots to get to where we are, and all of a sudden it's dynamic. So if you're literally joining in for the first time, you know that I enjoy marketing and I enjoy branding, and part of a lot of the things that I do, we talk about the who and we talk about why we make the choices that we make. And when it comes to branding, a lot of times we're going to hear today the question of who is speaking, who is representing this, what is the image, what is the voice, where did this come from, and who is delivering this message. So I'm super excited that you're here today because we have an awesome guest with his work featured in national ad campaigns and the winner of the North American Cosmoprof Brand Trendsetter of the Year Award 2 times in a row, and known for his creative direction, brand design, and the ability to form strategic partnerships. From arc2culture.com, please welcome a creative with a purpose, Kyle Frazier. Kyle.
Hey, nice to meet you. Well, we met obviously earlier, so this is great. This is on camera meeting. All
right, this is our on-camera meeting. And before we get started, for those of you who also don't know, if you're just joining in, I'll give you all of the tools. You can go to philliprourke.com to learn more about Kyle. But what I love about this particular connection is that we connected on LinkedIn. That's amazing. Yeah, and that's amazing to me. So for those people who are out there who are listening, who are getting into either your niche or whatever, LinkedIn is a really great platform. This isn't a paid commercial, but it's a great platform to connect. Kyle, man, what's going on?
All types of good stuff. Just kind of getting the agency rolling, working with clients, doing interviews like this. So it's been a blessing. It's been really, really, really blessing. So just excited for things as they happen and things as they unfold, for sure. Yeah.
And I know at the beginning we talked kind of a blizzard about your bullet points of work, some of the key categories. Overall, when I see a lot of the things you're doing online, when I read a lot about you, you're very creative, and you have a creative element to almost everything that you do. Have you always been creative? And if not, when did it just like switch and be like, hey, I'm good at that?
Well, I mean, I'll say for sure, like I've always been creative. I would say I started out like most creative start, just basically like drawing as much stuff as I could. Just really did a really good job of evolving that. Got into street art, graffiti, things like that. Ended up at an internship with Adidas from, just being able to draw, and started learning design. And so once I started learning design from, professional footwear designers, I've always had a love for footwear. So I'm a sneakerhead by nature.
Oh, yeah?
So that just, it was kismet, to really be in that space with all of the creatives at that time at Adidas, and really be able to work on projects and see how things were done behind the scenes was phenomenal for me. So that was where my career, basically began. And then after, just kind of being in the industry and working with different brands up until that point, I ended up starting an entrepreneurial journey, which was with the men's grooming brand. And so from there, I really started getting into the branding of things. And so that really opened me up to being more of a creative problem solver, because, as a startup business, you pretty much have to do everything on your own, as far as like posting, relationship building, pumping, packing, and shipping product, so, just anything and everything, meetings, all of that stuff. So it was definitely a educational period of time for me. And so it gave me the opportunity to really be able to I guess, explore the fact of really looking at branding through the creative lens as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, branding and marketing in particular is very elusive to a lot of people. They don't really know what it is. They see the bells, they see the whistles, and a lot of times branding is very visual to a lot of people. It's like, oh, and I think I saw one of your posts or on LinkedIn, and you were talking about, branding is more than a logo.
Yeah.
What do you mean, and how does that weave itself into how you are strategic with your clients?
Sure. So, the thing is I think everybody understands marketing. I think branding is a little bit more of a nuanced understanding for most people. So what I try to do is I try to say marketing is awareness, and really branding is relationship building, right? It's those deep questions that you're asking to really get a chance to get to know the person or the brand, right?
Mhm.
And so what happens with a client or a customer or an audience is that marketing will bring them to the table. They'll be able to see a marketing moment because it's being presented to them in a way that allows them to be aware of it, right? And then it's up to the brand to create the brand story to deepen the relationship with the consumer, right? So that's ultimately what you want to do. You want to bring them in with the marketing, and then you also want to tell your story with the branding so that you create the deep relationship that you need to have for there to be a connection for years. I mean, that's ultimately the goal.
Yeah, a lot of times people, you explain that really well. And for some reason, every time I think of branding and I think of marketing and how it's changed over time, I think of the storytelling, like you were saying. But in my mind, it reminds me of car commercials. And I've said it before because somewhere along the line, I think commerce has started to brand itself kind of like a nonprofit, where nonprofits have to tell a story. We have to sell you on either the issue or the heartstrings behind it or what have you. But commerce was a lot more of like what the nuts and bolts is this, it's this, it's this. But then all of a sudden you have these car commercials that are telling the story of how the child just wants to go to sleep and the families, and the families going into the woods or whatever. When you come into like branding situations, how do you, and this might be art to culture, it might be a good way to kind of talk about that, but how do you help somebody pull their story out to make it remain authentic and not just sort of a formulation of what I think I want these people to know, do, or see?
Sure, that's a really good question. So, when we work with clients, at all levels, what we're really trying to do is get an understanding from the standpoint of feature versus benefit, right? And so features are obviously going to be, just basically the specs of what they do. So, the person is, a real estate agent, or a person is, involved and they want to sell, apparel. And so the specs of the apparel is what we're, what they're talking about in terms of features. But the benefits is like, this is what this garment makes me feel like when I wear it. This is, touching me at a different level. And so it creates a deeper, connection and a relationship. So ultimately, what we really want to do is we really want to, look at it from a two-pronged point of view, one being, feature and one being benefit.
Mm. Your brand, Art to Culture.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that and what is it?
Sure. So, we started Art to Culture. I have a partner. My partner's name is Damon White. So shout out to Damon. He's not here right now, but he's definitely here in spirit. We started out, pretty organically. Both of us have different, complementary skill sets. I was looking to get back into the industry a little bit from the standpoint of really looking at the opportunity. I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay, perfect. I was looking at the opportunity to, to figure out what I wanted to do with my entrepreneurial journey when I did the men's grooming brand. And so what we ended up doing was we partnered after really going into a relationship with our first client, which was Target. So we developed the relationship, started doing pipeline work with them for their mentorship program. So they have an accelerator program that's really around impact and diversity and inclusion, right? And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to add value to that. So what we started doing is we started proposing different brands that we knew of in our ecosystem that could, be a really good fit. So the first cohort, I think they took 7 out of the 10 that we suggested. And in the second cohort, they did the same. So we were like, yo, there's something here. Like we have to figure out a way to transact with Target. So that was the goal. The guy that we talked to, who's been a tremendous help for us, is Spencer Walker. So shout out to him. He's a tremendous guy. And so what he basically, suggested is like, hey, look, why don't you guys take a look at, becoming, more formalized as far as like being an agency or what have you. We were like, okay, cool. Well, so then with my branding background, it's just kind of like, let's see what we can do as far as like being able to formulate an agency that makes sense. So, what we decided to do was focus in on like culturally led events, because I feel that that's a UVP, a unique value proposition for us. And it allows us to really be able to create a point of difference in the space of other agencies and things of that nature, and really work with becoming a bridge or an arch, right? Which is why we named ourselves Art to Culture as well, is because what we want to do is we want to connect the dots, and we want to create a bridge from one, the corporation, to two, the actual culture, and then also startup businesses or emerging brands. And so that's, primarily what we focus a lot of our attention on. And so that's basically how we started the business.
Wow. A lot of people have a hard time. Listen, a lot of people have a hard time starting. There's no shortage, if you will, of dreams. There's no shortage of intention. There's no shortage of like, hey, I wish that. But a lot of times getting started and knowing where to start are really pivotal and can kind of triple. Oh, snap. Come on, who's it? I'm just
We
joking.
did it. It was me. We did it. You got a chance to get a coffee break in.
Get a coffee break. So you get business calls in the middle of, that's when you're busy. But people, it's hard to get started. And I know you have a lot of experience building your own brand, but also helping people to build brands and being a resource for them. One of the questions that I have for you is, when do people decide that they need someone, say, of your caliber to come alongside them and help them kind of figure it out or get some branding recommendations or something? When is it time for somebody in their lane or their journey to say, hey, I really need to flip the switch and reach out and get this kind of support?
Sure. What I would say is it's probably a couple different entry points, right? Or depending on, where you're at in your business, just kind of like anxiety, right? Like the anxiety of knowing that you need to scale the business, knowing that you're ready either to go into retail or that you're ready to really figure it out, right? And I think that the big thing, for most of our clients really is in knowing when they're ready to, from an emerging brand point of view, and then also from a corporation standpoint, just kind of understanding that, like, there's even an agency like ours, and there are others as well, but the bottom line is to really be able to add value in a very authentic way. I think is important. One of the things that I say about like a lot of our clients is they're going to need more help, not less, as we continue to do the work that we do with them. So a lot of this is about ecosystem and building relationships. So I would say like the first year for us was really just about building those relationships. I think as we start to look at the journey from a client point of view, is if they're ready to go into retail, then that's a really good time, because that's like a very strong landmark in the evolution of their brand. The second thing would be in terms of if they're ready to actually, have a very comprehensive understanding of branding. And I think that those are probably the two biggest touch points for us from an emerging brand point of view. I think the corporation side of the stuff that we do is, when we partner with, schools like Pensacola Lewis College, for instance, historically Black college in Detroit. One of the other people that we had partnered with for Black History Month was Shan Zuckerberg, the initiatives that she has going on with her nonprofit. So I think that there are ways to be able to work with, different corporations as well. So I would say that as long as the individual or the group really sees value in authentic relationships and really just, kind of unpacking that bag from a branding point of view, and then also from a authenticity point of view, that's when we would, be the most benefit to come in and help.
You lean on authenticity a lot, because I was about to come to that. You lean on that a lot, and I would just want to unpack that a little bit. Why is authenticity so important, and how do people keep missing it enough so that you make it a focus?
Sure. So I think, to be honest, when I first started in this business, right, working as a creative in a corporate environment, a lot of what we did was behind the scenes. It wasn't, something that was, kind of front facing. Social media wasn't necessarily a big thing at that point. So I think what's happened with social media is that now everyone, upwards into including influencers, have a very strong space in regards to being able to, show what they're doing, show their work, show the process, and more consumers are really concerned with having that deep, authentic relationship. So I think that's what's really happening is that, from a brand point of view, the brand is being, I guess, coerced or coaxed into by their client, by their audience, into giving, them more. Give us more of a story. Let us know, the details. Like, give us the tea. So and I think that within that, comes a level of trust that is built. That's really the foundation for most brands and most relationships. So I think the best way to understand brand building is really understanding, like, how do you want to build a relationship? So if we're going to build this by trust, with trust first, then that's how we start. We start with, what are our goals? What are our objectives? What's our why? Why are we doing this? Feature versus benefit, and just really understanding, like, ultimately, yes, like, we're in business to make money, but at the end of the day, like, was there another reason why we started this business? Was there another reason why we created this brand? Was there another reason why we became a founder? And so I think that those are very important, stories to be able to tell that allow the consumer to really understand, and feel closer and feel connected to the brand. I think one of the biggest things that kind of came out of the last year was the movie Air when it aired, pun intended. So it was the movie with Nike, and it was kind of like, it wasn't their origin story, but what it was the signing of Michael Jordan. And so what that did for their brand was, phenomenal. And the fact that they, paid homage to so many different people. A mentor of mine was, Peter Moore. So, that was really cool to see that they, paid homage to him as well. And then obviously all of the other people that were involved in it. So I just think that those are stories that need to be told about, what great brands really bring to the table. And great brands have those stories. I think one of the things that we've seen in current years have been all of the Marvel comic stories that have really been told through the lens of film, right? These were all, cartoons or comic strips, and they all have very elaborate stories behind them. And so you can read all of that, but then at the same time, you could also come in as a newbie and also still be able to get the same value out of it. And it might make you want to go and read those issues as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking through all the Marvel comics, like, yeah. You mentioned, people's why and knowing what the whys are. You've had tremendous success, and you're the 2-time recipient of the Trendsetter of the Year award. So that means that there's something about you and your work that's worthy of recognition. What is your why?
Oh, that's really easy. I just think that to be honest, I think that the universe gives, a lot of us ideas. And I think that it's not singular ideas for a purpose, but I do think that there's, it's up to us to decide to, to answer the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the sense of my why is to answer the call of the purpose that I have, and to be as authentic and live the life that I know that I'm living, and not try to be someone else or try to live what their value set or value system is, and just really go about it from the standpoint of this is a unique, journey for me, and it's not something that other people necessarily have to mimic, but they just have to understand it as we do our storytelling, and just know, hey, you know what? Like, it wasn't easy, for any of us. It wasn't easy for me. It's not easy for the next person. I think that, what we do is we persevere, and we try to do the best that we can with the time that we have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my why.
That's good. Have you thought about that? Because that was a good answer.
No, thank you. I think about it a lot, to be honest with you. So yeah.
Well, whether it's I wasn't saying it because it sounded scripted. I was saying it because you sounded very sure.
Yeah.
And that's oftentimes the why is the most difficult thing to answer, and your answer was very, 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 very on point. Good for you. I'm like, good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know somebody's listening now and just kind of picking your brain. What are your top 3, I guess, success tips that you would give someone who is interested in building a successful brand? What are the top 3 things that they need?
Well, I would say build trust. That kind of goes back into my last post. I think it's big. I think that, moments that we, tend to look at and just say, that was just a moment. It's not really a big thing. And I do that a lot too. I definitely do that a lot. And what I find is that in those moments of just bringing it to the table and just, posting about it, or just having like a comment about it and saying, generally speaking, like how that made me feel. I think that creates the connection that people are looking for. And that's a part of building trust. So I think that's big. I think consistency is another big thing. I think, people think that branding is just going to happen overnight. And what it is it's almost, it's like compounding interest, right? So if you're aware of like 401k, when you look at it the first time you put the contribution in, it doesn't look like it's very much, but over time and over years, what happens is that, it just turns the switch, and, you go from literally pennies to dollars to thousands. And so I think what the biggest takeaway for me in terms of branding and marketing and posting and things like that is that as long as we keep a consistency with it, it'll start to pay off. And I think that having a game plan about how you want to go and do it is the most important thing. And then, lastly, it's going to be definitely authenticity and transparency, for, to be completely honest. So I think a lot of times people think that brands just have to be glossy and they don't have to have it or show any flaws. But as we know, that's not what, was driving the movement in our culture today. What's driving the movement in our culture is that people want to know how you got it done. Not so much that you got it done, but they want to see how you got it done. They want to see, hey, you know what? Like, you had a hard day and you made it work. Okay, that's great. Now, I can root for you. And I think that those are the moments that, really, if you can tap into those authentic moments and those transparency moments, I think that gives your audience a chance to feel closer to you and be more connected to you and more connected to the brand for sure.
Yeah, authenticity, huge. And transparency, we can go on and on about transparency. Because sometimes, in a short answer, is there such thing as being too transparent as a brand?
Yes. Was that short enough?
It was.
Okay, I'm gonna give an example, right?
Okay.
Just as some context, and I'll keep it very brief. Okay. There's this level of marketing that's called cringe marketing. I kind of like use it as a phrase just because it really does exist. It exists because people are showing things that you just cannot unsee. Like, you're just like, whoa, like, I just saw that. They just did that. Like they're saying this out loud and in public. So what it does is it creates the attention that you're looking for, right? It creates the awareness. So from a marketing standpoint, it checks those boxes. But from a branding point of view, it kind of hurts your brand long term, right? Because what happens is that because you bring the awareness, now that's a part of your brand. And if you ever think differently or you ever want differently, it's a lot to, kind of, backtrack in a lot of ways. So I think that, people have to be very judicious about the way that they, want to market and then the way that they want to brand. And I think those things need to mix more so than be adversarial.
That's good. Yeah. And I think in the day that we're in now of social media and being able to see and have direct insight into everything, as far as a person and how they choose to incorporate that into their brand. I think that having that sensitivity of, what is too much, what is authentic, and what is just kind of like way like, oh, hold up. That might be, that might be cringe. It might be cringe. Okay. So I have some fun questions for you. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Snickers or Three Musketeers?
Oh, I'm gonna go Snickers all day. Come on.
Snickers. Cake or pie?
Cake, easily.
Cake. Dogs or cats?
I'm a dog person. I respect cats. I'm a Leo, so I respect cats. But I would like to have a dog more than I would like to have a cat.
Yeah. I got it. Favorite movie?
Wow, that's a really good question. You know what I'm gonna say in this season of my life, Shawshank Redemption is probably a really good one. Just kind of digging in the crates.
Quick sidebar as to why Shawshank Redemption. I did not see that coming.
Well, the irony is that, when you put Morgan Freeman and you kind of have him narrating something, you've got magic. there's that, right? Like, dude's done God, for crying out loud, So, I think that the movie, what really resonates with me is the fact that the adversity, right, that someone goes through, and the fact that them knowing that they're better than their circumstance. And them doing something about it, I think is critical. It's critical to be your own hero in your own story, no matter what. No matter if people are beating you up, abusing you, whatever. I think it's really important for us to, continue to champion ourselves and be heroes of ourselves.
That's deep. Look, I'm processing. I'm like interviewing and processing at the same time. Like,
that's what's up. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So this one's for the culture, and this is I'm gonna get my finger on the eject button, depending upon what you say.
All right.
Okay. Brandy or Monica?
Branding or Monica?
Brandy.
Oh, you said for the culture, so then you just say Monica. Come on.
Oh.
That's just how that works.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, when you say for the culture, then it's Monica.
And it would be, and if it was for something else, what would that something else be for Brandy?
I think if you just want to go, more marketing, then you're gonna say success-wise, and you go with Brandy, 100%.
That was a good answer. All right, no eject, but you get, that was a good answer. That's a very PR answer. Loved it.
Just saying. Both of them are great, but one of them could only get the spot for the culture. So
that's so funny. Kyle, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you, Phillip. This was amazing. I'm really glad that you called and that I was able to show up and add some value. Hopefully somebody got something out of this, because again, all I'm trying to do is get free game on my socials just to try to help people as much as I can. One of the things is I just don't want to be a gatekeeper to the knowledge that I have. I want to, be empty when it's time for me to go. So the bottom line is I'm really just trying to add the value to other people, and whatever they get out of it is tremendous.
Yeah, well, definitely. You've added value today. So, I appreciate you making time to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you, Phillip. I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. So listen, that's Kyle. You're gonna have all this information. Excuse me, I have all this information on PhillipO'Rourke.com. If you're listening, wherever you are, if you're watching, wherever you are, go to PhillipO'Rourke.com to learn more. Huge takeaway, and I'm so glad that it happened closer to the end because it gave me a lot to think about. Be the hero of your own story. What does that mean for you? Whether you're in business, whether you're in branding, whether you're just a person just out here living your life. Again, you have a story. What is it? What is your journey? And what is your intentional impact on your own story? Nobody can make the impact that you can by the choices that you make and the decisions that you make. And one of the things that Kyle said was relationship building is key. So continue to build those relationships. Thank you to Kyle for coming on. And as usual, you are the best you in the world. Make sure you tune in next time to The Phillip Show, PhillipO'Rourke.com for more. I will see you next time.
Don't